Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Show. My name is Simon Miller and I want to thank you, both old and new listeners, for tuning in. Now, usually we don't go live on a Monday, but it's a very big week in the world of WWE, and obviously last week we only had one episode as I jaunted off to Wrestlemania, so I thought it'd be a great idea to sit down and take a look at the Superstar Shakeup and try to predict what is going to happen, but I didn't want to do it alone, so I reached out to one of my awesome Patreon members, which you too can be a part of, at patreon.com/Simon Miller 316. That's why today, for the very first time, I'm welcoming my man James onto the podcast. James, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well, Simon.
Good, I'm glad. Now, look, it's the first time you've been on. What I always like to do is have a quick chat. Dude, how did you get into this crazy thing called pro wrestling? Why did you like pro wrestling? All the little things that kind of, you know, it made men and women in pants fighting appeal to you, basically. That's what I want to know.
The physical soap opera, as I like to tell people who look at me strangely.
Hell yeah.
Well, actually, I've only been in wrestling for, under 2 years, I think. Right. I started watching back in October 2017.
Okay, so still kind of like early days, really.
Very early days.
Yeah. So how did you get into it? Don't give me your age, but sort of why? I mean, obviously you're an adult, right? You're an adult. Why do you think it's now and not when you're a kid? Because obviously a lot of people get into it when they're kids because it's easier to, you know, ignore all the baloney when you're a kid, and then when you're an adult, you just watch it anyway.
I also had, I think there was no one around me who talked about wrestling. No one in my school when I was a kid. Nothing like that. My parents are just like, oh yeah, if it were ever brought up, I think it was like, oh yeah, that's fake. It's just like straight up, no. But I heard a lot about wrestling whenever I listened to Total Biscuit, because he would talk about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's how I actually found about you, was when you went on the Co-optional podcast so many months ago.
Wow, damn. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, isn't it funny how the world works? I mean, I know Total Biscuit was a divisive character, and obviously he passed away, and we talked about this at the time when he did pass away, but as his name is brought up, and because I like to mention this to people, he did a lot for me, Total Biscuit. He really, really did. Like, say whatever you want about him. I didn't agree with all of his views, but that's the same, you know, with a lot of people. But he went above and beyond to help me on YouTube, and yeah. So I always shout that guy out. It was really good to me. So yeah, I appreciate it. That's amazing, dude. That's amazing to think you found out that way. It's just, that blows my brain.
Yeah, and then so I think I started watching your videos after that. I'm just like, you know what, this seems crazy, so I might as well give it a try. And I think,
wow, man, this is amazing.
Yeah, so I think I first jumped in when it was Hell in a Cell for October.
Okay, it's not the worst thing to start. People throwing themselves into steel.
Exactly. Because there's two main matches I remember. It was the beginning and then the ending. The beginning being, I think it was the Usos versus the New Day for the tag team, one of the tag team championships. It's probably SmackDown.
Yeah.
I was just like, there's Xavier Woods has a trombone. He's hitting people with, this is insane. What is this? I love it. And then, of course, at the very end, we get KO and Shane O'Mac fighting, and it's just, oh, so this man just throws himself off every conceivable thing.
He did.
This is I love it.
You had Shane McMahon's gimmick down in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Which sums it out.
What's he gonna jump off next? Are they just gonna keep adding to the steel cage?
Yes.
Every single time?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
And then seeing him when I think I saw a clip when he was doing a coast to coast with someone in the turnbuckle trash can in front of them. I'm just like, oh, here we go.
That's amazing, dude. I love it. So you get through Hell in a Cell, and you like it, obviously. But then what? Do you watch Raw? Do you watch SmackDown? Do you go on YouTube? I mean, what's kind of the next step?
Well, I'm trying to remember how I first watched it, because now I watch it through Hulu. So I watch
they're the shortened version.
Right. I was just like, my job is 12-hour shifts, so I may be off on Mondays, but the Hulu cut doesn't come up until the next day. So it's just like, yeah, I don't think I don't have live TV, and I don't have 3 hours to dedicate for Raw.
No, who does, man? Like, it's a conversation we've had here on many times, and I want to get to your thoughts on WrestleMania in a second, but I think the length of the show is be it WrestleMania, Raw, SmackDown's fine. SmackDown gets thrown in there, obviously, cumulatively, because it's still an extra 2 hours of content you've got to watch. So no, I completely understand that. What did you think as well? Actually, screw it. Let's go down. What do you think when you go looking into Raw and you find out it's 3 hours long? Are you a bit like, are you kidding me? Like you just said, my days are 12 hours. When do you expect me to get a 3 hour wrestling show in?
Well, when I first started, I didn't have the 12 hours yet. But yeah, it's just like, no. But when I first started, I was just like, this is so new to me. I will consume whatever I need. Just get the fix. And now I'm just like, all right, I know what wrestling is now. I know what I prefer in it. So I know I can kind of pick and choose what I want from Raw.
Yeah, well, exactly, man, right? Because a lot of it is... Well, I think my biggest problem with Raw, and I do enjoy Raw, but I sometimes wonder, am I enjoying Raw? Am I enjoying the fact to get to critique Raw? Like, it's kind of a... It's
little A and B.
Well, yeah, I think it probably is a little bit of both. But I think the biggest problem I have is that when I'm done, I kind of add up all the segments. I'm like, even for a 3 hour show, there's a lot of segments. And I think because sometimes they go a bit overkill, as if they feel like they had to overdo to fill, 180 minutes of 180 minutes of content. So who's the kind of, because usually somebody, you warm to a wrestler that, it's not just the craziness of wrestling, like you say, Shane Man jumping off cages. There's a wrestler that you just like, be that instinctively or whatever. Is there a guy or a girl that you warm to, or was it just because it was so stupid? You're like, I can watch this.
Oh, that's what definitely kept me going at first. Although, I don't think it's just one wrestler. Although I will say that the one type of wrestler I really love are just the heels that get in your face. They're just overly arrogant, and they're just, I am so better than you. Like when I first started watching, The Miz held the IC title, and I will say, I know you've mentioned before in other podcasts about, let people have their title reigns. Let these belts mean something. Just like when Sasha Banks and Bayley lost their belts to the Iconics.
I like that. Like, I don't know what it is. I hate them in the way that I meant to hate them. Because they're supposed to be. My friend will look at me and he'll say, it's like, I hate them. I'm like, you know that's the point, right? You're just playing into their hand. It'll just like, I still hate them. Yeah, but when they do the iconic thing, I can't help but smile. It's one of those amazing things in the world of wrestling that you really warm to. And you're not, again, I don't know what it is. It's like Santino Marella's sock puppet, what's it, Cobra thing, which you may not actually know about.
I've seen him square up with Mick Foley and Mr. Sacco.
Right, okay,
a small clip of it.
So stuff like that, because I'm sure, I don't know if this sounds weird, but I mean, if I saw that in a kid's TV show, say my niece or something was watching it, I'd be like, I may giggle, because that's silly, but I wouldn't have any affiliation with it. However, when they do it in wrestling, do it over and over again, eventually I find myself looking forward to it. When I see it live, it's a thing. So, I don't know, wrestling is really good at doing stuff like that, so I completely understand. There's a quirkiness to it that becomes very enjoyable after a while.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about WrestleMania 35. This is only your second WrestleMania?
Yeah. Second WrestleMania, I think between the two, I enjoyed. I think 35 was a little bit better. They're kind of on the same level. Although I still maintain that so far, this WrestleMania moment, I was watching the show live itself, and I had Twitter up, and I will never forget the moment when the ref comes up to John Cena in the crowd right after Asuka had just lost, and my friend and I were freaking out, and he just runs up the ramp, and just all the memes that happened. It was great.
I mean, that again, that ties into the Iconics thing, right? John Cena hopping over and just legging it. I just laugh. I don't think I'd laugh. I don't think I'd laugh if I saw that in any other, I can't even think of the right word, environment. But it's just so dumb. It's just so funny, and the look on his face was so ridiculous. Like, this is why I love wrestling, because it is absolutely ludicrous. But do you find yourself that you're more into wrestling now than you were when you first started watching it? Like, for me, I really got into it when I was a kid. Then I had a couple of years break. But when I came back to it second time, I just knew deep down I'm watching this for life. Do you think you're there now, or do you kind of still feel like you're in your sort of habitation process where you're still learning? Because obviously a lot of the stories they're telling at the moment are going to be brand new to you. And especially, I always think this, if you're a new wrestling fan and you see a lot of negative on social media or on Twitter, you may actually be a bit perplexed by it, because wrestling, if you don't know that they're just copying what they did, 10 years ago, is really exciting and it's really fun because you've got nothing else to compare it to. So why wouldn't you enjoy it?
Well, I will say that I don't, there's a lot of stories I have not experienced personally. Like, I never experienced Stone Cold, but I know
exactly, yeah.
Becky Lynch she's not Stone Cold, but at the same time, she has many aspects of Stone Cold, just not giving a damn about Vince and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's what was it? There's no original idea under the sun. But at the same time, if you just kind of find a way to present it, it can be exciting.
Yeah, I think, that's... Yeah, I think people forget that is my point. Especially, I mean, obviously you're not, but especially kids that start watching it. When a kid starts watching it, they can't believe some of the stuff that goes on because it feels so ridiculous. Right, let's talk WrestleMania 35. Obviously, 7.5 hours long. Did you like it? Did you not like it? I mean, were you worn out? Did you watch the whole thing? Did you stay up to watch it? Did you catch it up in chunks?
Yeah, I actually had I've gotten one of my friends and my girlfriend into it. So this is the first WrestleMania that we all watched together. So that was something fun.
And what does she think when you tell her it's going to be 7 hours plus long?
She's just like, I need a break. I need a break about midway through.
Absolutely. But do you think it was a good show? Or do you think just the sheer length of it wore you out?
I mean, it'll wear anybody out, but I watched all of it. I did enjoy it. Even though it was like Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor. I'm like, all right, well, that happened. Just congrats, Finn. Why did we take it off you?
Yeah, I don't...
Why did we spoil the demon?
I presume that's why, because someone had the idea to, have the demon come in at WrestleMania. Which, look, it should have happened. It should have happened, right? It's the demon at WrestleMania should have been a yearly thing. Why they waited so long, I don't know. But, I don't know. The whole thing was strange. Did you have a particular highlight from Mania?
I mean, I found it interesting when Elias, one of my favorite people, someone I have 2 shirts of, when he got interrupted by the Doctor of Thugonomics, I'm like, I have never seen this before. I have never seen Rap Cena before.
Of course you haven't. So what do you think about that? Because obviously, not more edgy. I think a lot. I'm not alone in saying this. It's not like some kind of incredible opinion, but I do certainly think if he had never changed that gimmick, he may not have got the boos that he got. I think people like that gimmick, and I think it probably could have stayed the course.
See, I never had an inclination to boo John Cena, but also I was not in wrestling when he was pushed heavily. I just look at John Cena and I'm like, you know what? This is a good man, and I will always be a smile when I see him come into the ring. But just seeing the Doctor of Thugonomics, I'm like, oh, this is a treat I'm probably not going to see again.
Yeah, no, you probably won't. I don't think you're going to see a lot more of John Cena, which I find amazing as well. When you started watching wrestling, John Cena wasn't a main fixture. I mean, he was around, but he was kind of transitioning out. And
yeah, I hear all these names. It's like Triple H, John Cena, and I'm just like, Undertaker. I'm just like, oh, so I'm going to see them regular. Oh, wait, they're old men now.
Oh,
wait,
yeah?
what?
What did you think when The Undertaker comes out on Raw? Is that your first experience of an Undertaker? I mean, no, it probably wasn't, right? He must have come out before. I don't know. See, this is the thing.
35 with Cena, or 34 with Cena.
Of course. Okay, I mean, that's...
when he buried Cena.
Did you know about Undertaker? Because, I mean, it depends how into wrestling you are. I mean, a lot of people, will know of The Undertaker because he's such an iconic character. But if you don't, and you first see that, you must be like, what the flip is this?
I think Undertaker is the one universe... Well... I say the one. I mean, everybody knows the names Hulk Hogan, and I think most everyone knows the Macho Man. But I will say the Undertaker is one of the universal wrestling characters. Like, if you say Undertaker, they're like, isn't that wrestling? They won't know him specifically or his gimmick, but they're like, yeah, that's a wrestler, right?
It goes to something. But are you able to justify in your head that he's a dead person? Because that's what a lot of people struggle with. They're like, wait a minute, he's meant to be, like my girlfriend does. She's like, what do you mean he's meant to be dead? I'm like, just meant to be dead. What do you mean? Like, he's dead, he's a zombie. What the hell is he doing all this stuff? It's like, you're overthinking it. You just got to accept
he's dead,
that.
And then he came back as Biker Taker. It was just a phase for a while.
That is bad. If anybody thinks Biker Taker is bad, that's fine. I'm on board with that. Actually, we should talk about The Undertaker. I can't remember if we talked about this last week. I don't think so. He has indeed signed a new deal with WWE. Obviously, if you've been following his career, he'd started to do a lot more non-character appearances, which for The Undertaker is very rare. And now that's all. He's going to do StarCast 2, which he was signed up for. He's going to do the signing part of the UK shows that he had over here, but the Q&A has been cancelled, and Mick Foley is taking that over. So yeah, any of this kind of Undertaker swell of, kayfabe breaking nonsense we are expecting is dead, ironically. And he's going back to WWE on a bumper deal. We obviously saw him attack Elias on Raw. I don't think he's going to be a regular character, but he'll have a match with Elias at Saudi Arabia, and then who knows what. So, The Undertaker back with WWE full time, I guess, or whatever full time is for the Taker in 2019.
When was that supposed retirement match? Never saw it, but I was always referenced.
The thing with the retirement of wrestlers is I can't understand it. Like, I love what I do. And if I get to 70 years old and I'm still doing it, and I want to still do it, even if my content isn't as good, if I really do still enjoy it, I'm going to be like, you know what, I'm not going to stop retiring. I'm not going to retire because you want me to retire. That's what I never understood about that. It doesn't mean that you're not as, it doesn't mean that you suck compared to what you once did. That's just the ravages of age. But I completely understand him going regardless. It must be a really hard thing to give up when you've been doing it so long.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll always be happy to see Taker. It was just when I first getting into it, I'm like, wait, he's supposed to be retired? It's like, oh, wait, retirement actually doesn't matter for quite a few wrestlers.
He's the Undertaker as well. You're never going to get another one like him. So I think the longer he can hold on, because I understand, because some people think that, oh, he's going to ruin his legacy. I don't believe that. It's like when, Star Wars release a new movie and goes, oh, they've ruined the trilogy. No, they haven't. You could just ignore that movie if you want. Your enjoyment for the original three. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Let's talk.
Heck, I ignore the prequels for many reasons.
Well, yeah, exactly. Oh, they're all bad then. I used to think that episode 3 was all right, and I watched it a while ago. I was like, nah, it's just not. It's just not. It's probably the best of the 3, but that's like saying
From my perspective, the Jedi are evil.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, fair play to George. Again, George Lucas wanted to make them. It's his property. Good for him. I'll never watch those 3 movies ever again as long as I live. There's just nothing there. There's nothing there. Even if someone says, Simon, let's do a Star Wars thing, I go, all right, apart from that bit in the early 2000s. Let's just skip those whatsoever. Let's talk the Superstar Shakeup. Obviously going down today and tomorrow. I think it's in Canada. I'm pretty sure that it is.
Yeah, isn't it Montreal?
I think so, yeah, which is going to make it fascinating because the Canadians are just awesome crowds and they go absolutely crazy. I would imagine there's going to be some big shifts. Like, a lot of people think that maybe this is where SmackDown gets, with all the big stars, because obviously they're moving to Fox in October. I don't think you do it now 6 months before it happens. Like, WWE make up their own rules. So you could easily just do another Superstar Shakeup in September, should you so wish. Who do you want to see move? Like, forget about what's realistic and what's not realistic. Because my big one now, after sitting down and thinking about it, and I'm not sure they would do this, because I think ever since he's come back, he's helped Raw ratings. But I feel like moving Roman Reigns over to SmackDown would be really refreshing. Now, again, I'm not sure that would happen. But to me, a big move like that, much like when John Cena did it back in the day, although the other way around, I just think it prevents new feuds. I think a heel Daniel Bryan versus a face Roman Reigns is interesting. Some kind of clash between AJ Styles and Roman Reigns, even though it's face versus face, is interesting. A Randy Orton feud would be interesting. There are all these little things that I think about which make me go, if someone said, Simon, you can pick any kind of shift that you think will make WWE better, I put Roman Reigns on SmackDown. Again, I'm not thinking about ratings or numbers or business. I know people will tweet me going, oh, if you do this, that will happen. I'm sheerly talking about my enjoyment from a product point of view. And in that sense, it'd be Roman Reigns going to SmackDown.
Yeah, that'd be more than interesting. I hadn't seen him on that side. He's only ever been on Raw for me.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he's ever been on SmackDown, man. As far as I know, I could be wrong.
Oh, wow.
But as far as I know, I can never remember this version of Roman Reigns being on Tuesdays. So it is a big deal, right? And hopefully that, drums up some interest as well.
Take a lot of kids with him, I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah, and maybe that's what they need, I don't know the specific demographics when it comes to 12 to 18 or whatever the hell the brackets are. But he would do, and kids love him. Maybe it plugs a hole. I mean, do you have anyone like that? I guess, what did you think of the Superstar Shakeup when you saw it last year as well? Because it's quite an interesting thing to learn. That's what they do. Oh, by the way, once a year, we just shuffle around the entire roster.
Yeah, whenever I got in, it was still the brand split. There's never been just two. The biggest thing I remember from the last one was, it was the aftermath of 34 when Daniel Bryan beat KO and Sammy, and they were booted from SmackDown.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that was interesting.
And then they, excuse me, they had that celebration with The Miz coming to Raw, and then. And then Miz was told, "Oh no, you're going to SmackDown. Say hi to DB for me."
Yeah. So, who do you want to? Have you got any choices? Like, who do you want to shift across?
Honestly, at this point, just seeing any of them go across to SmackDown will be interesting, especially with how the Fox deal will do. See if any of them will be any bigger on Fox, or you know what I mean? Just with the viewership that comes with it. See what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I hope. I don't know how crazy they're going to be, because actually, if you look at the shifts we've had in the past, they're very good at, it's wrestling, right? But they're very good at making out like more have happened than they actually have. Like, I remember back in the day, they pretended Triple H was going to SmackDown, and he didn't. Like, by the end of the night, I think he'd been traded back for Booker T and somebody else. But I given the ratings are down, and given the general vibe around WWE, I think going in a bit crazy would not be the worst thing in the world. That's the way that I'll phrase it. So I'd move Roman, maybe. I think AJ Styles to Raw is 100% something you have to do. I think AJ Styles has done all he can. I know I just said the Roman Reigns thing, but just talking about the feud in general, I think that AJ Styles has been on SmackDown so long that he needs something new. Same with Finn Balor. That's who I'd swap. I'd put Finn Balor on SmackDown, and I'd put AJ Styles on Raw. And that probably means that Samoa Joe moves to Raw as well, because obviously he's the United States champion, and you're not going to have the IC title and someone else on that. So,
right. Although I think that would be an interesting mix-up for the mid-card belts, because I've never seen the IC title on SmackDown. It's like, oh, this is a new setting for it. That's interesting for me.
Yeah, and I think that's important, right? I think that's what the Shakeup should do, especially this year. You should tune in to Monday or Tuesday nights and straight away think to yourself, oh wait, I feel like something has changed. You know, I think that's really important. So I hope they do that. In terms of, some people have said, do you think Kofi and Seth Rollins would switch? I doubt it. I think that would be ridiculous. I think you got to keep the world titles where they are. Becky Lynch is obviously going to be on both shows, which would be so much better if we could do that with the world champions as well, but we can't because they haven't unified. And then when you move into the tag teams too, I think I'd move the Usos across to Raw, and I think I'd really put those tag teams. I'd try and showcase those tag team titles on what is still considered, quote unquote, the big show. I mean, we can argue that till the cows come home, but that is how WWE sees it. And then you move Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins over to SmackDown. To me, as soon as I say that out loud, I think it's a better fit. In fact, I'd move quite a lot of the tag teams. I think, well, personally, I'd move all the tag teams onto one brand, but that's another argument. That's another argument to be had. But I think that WWE, while I'd imagine they would rather not be in this position, the fact that the Superstar Shakeup has come at a time when they are, the WrestleMania viewership were down. Let's go crazy. Let's have some fun with it. Clearly something isn't working. So let's plug whatever holes you think need to be plugged.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think they'll call anybody up from NXT?
Oh, it's always so sad to think about NXT call-ups, considering just everybody that they just don't do anything with. EC3 and what is Heavy Machinery? I still don't understand what Heavy Machinery is doing. I hadn't seen them because of the Hulu cuts. That's just like they're not important. They're telling me.
I think that sums it up right. I mean, WWE has to approve those cuts, right? You'd have to imagine the fact that with the Heavy Machinery stuff, they're like, don't even put them on the show. That is the problem with NXT call-ups, but I think there's a few. I mean, look, Ricochet and Aleister Black, I think, have done well. I quite like them as a tag team. I know loads of people are like, I don't want them as a tag team. For now, I think it works. So I think we should keep. It's better than separating them and watch them just fall into dust.
They developed that chemistry over time. It went from, they're just throwing them together. It's like, they actually do kind of work. Even if they aren't a quote-unquote tag team, they do work well together. There is something there.
I think so. And again, it's better than them being Apollo Crews or Heavy Machinery or EC3. And that could have happened if they were by themselves. I mean, I would have had them won the tag team championships, but whatever. It's not the end. I just say, of course, I've just remembered the Hardys are the SmackDown champions. I forgot about that. I said the Usos, or maybe that's even more. I totally forgot the Hardys won the championships on last week's episode of SmackDown. That was a weird one. Man, I did not see that coming at all. Maybe the Hardys moved then. Oh, I don't know. Now that's just thrown me off entirely. Of course, there's also the subject of Lars Sullivan. He needs. I did
not recognize his entrance. It's been so long. I'm like, what is this screaming entrance? Oh, it's Lars. Hi, Lars.
I know. I honestly, I think most of us had, right? Like, why would you remember? I think most of us had put it out there. Well, I certainly had put them at the back of my mind. Where do you think he goes? Do you think Raw, SmackDown? What's the better fit for him? I think he'd go on Raw because I think.
Yeah, I think that's the fact he's a big giant man is. I don't know. I feel like Raw is more like you have your Braun Strowman and your Drew McIntyre. Like I don't know. Raw feels like the powerhouse kind of brand to me for whatever reason.
Oh, it's because that's how they pitch it. And I think, but I think the real thing is, do you want Lars and Braun Strowman on the same... Because obviously they're going to do a Braun Strowman versus Samoa Joe feud. I think they made that perfectly clear. But does that mean Braun moves to SmackDown or Samoa Joe moves to Raw? And I guess it all depends on what they do with Finn Balor. I'd imagine Samoa Joe goes to Raw, but that in my head means you put Lars Sullivan on SmackDown, and that doesn't feel like a very SmackDown move given the way they usually book Raw and SmackDown. That's my point. So I'm intrigued. I think I just hope they go all out with it. I hope it's not a really... I think most Superstar Shakeups have actually been quite good. But I think it's important that they can't afford to not make these shows feel awesome in the sense that the post-Raw WrestleManias and SmackDown didn't really do the numbers they used to do. So they've got to do the numbers. It wasn't very
exciting. It was just like, oh, it's just another episode.
It was, yeah. I mean, the Lars Sullivan thing was cool, and whatever else has been going on.
Lacey Evans finally got a punch in.
Yeah, I mean, Lacey Evans got a punch in, and Becky Lynch is great. But yeah, I think we definitely need... These need to be the shows that get people excited, that do viewers, that people are talking about, and so on and so forth. And, from NXT, I think maybe you could call up the Undisputed. I don't think they will. But I think you could call up the Undisputed Era, and there's some other guys that are probably ready. But we wait. We wait and see. But I think we could come out the other side with people being excited. And that they need to reach a 3 million average, really, when it comes to the ratings. And I can't see any other show having the intrigue going in than these two. So you better believe that you want to live up to that. Also, one would hope.
Yeah, because what are they pulling now? What was it again?
Like 2.9, I think they did for Raw, and SmackDown didn't move at all, like 2.2, which is crazy. Do you think that neither averaged 3 million for the post-Mania shows? That's that's nuts. That's
I keep thinking SmackDown's going to get more views, but because I just personally prefer SmackDown. But I guess it's just the second day you view Raw and you're like, I want anything, so I'll skip SmackDown for quite a few people.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the key when they move across. Which I think eventually they will, I think eventually they will preload or front load SmackDown because they have to make sure that they appease Fox. That's going to be really important so they don't get bumped. But I don't think you have to do that now. Like I really, really, really don't think you have to do that now. Like I think you can wait until the month before, and then that way it probably gets more excitement anyway to do that.
Yeah, a lot more build up and everything. It's like, oh, it's going to be a big deal. We're moving to Fox on Fridays.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like now, people, even this shakeup, no matter what they do, will be commonplace in a month. Nobody will be tying it into anybody else. So I don't know when the first one in October is, but a few weeks before that, shift everybody around, try and get people talking for a few weeks, and then go across. That is, that I just think that makes much more sense. But what they do, I mean, they could, if they transfer sort of 15 people around. The worst bit about these shows is always that WWE don't tell the people where they're going, which is crazy. Because if you move from Raw to SmackDown or SmackDown to Raw, your entire week changes. You go from like doing, Friday to Tuesday shows to Thursday to Sunday, whatever it is. Your whole life just shifts in an instant, and they don't tell you. I always find that crazy.
Yeah, I never. Hopefully they advertise that come the month before, just like, hey, but just a little commercial, like, or just a little insert before they go to commercial breaks, like, hey, reminder, we're moving to Fridays on Fox. Change the channel.
Yeah.
Don't. Or, I just imagine AEW like putting commercials in at that time slot. It's like you miss your wrestling on Tuesdays. Well, come over to whatever channel we're on.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Fox is already pushing it. They're going to put it in football games and other sports stuff that they're doing. They've got every opportunity to make it a big deal, and if it doesn't, sometimes you have to just shrug your shoulders and go, maybe people just don't want to watch WWE anymore. Maybe you do need to come up with new. But look, hey man, you're an example that new people will start watching. So let's throw it out there. Why, what apart from listening to me and being like, you wanted to check it out, what was it? Not that got you to watch, because, wrestling is fascinating, but why are you hanging around? Like, what is it that they're doing that you're enjoying at the moment?
Well, one, just how crazy it can get, and just how fun it is. I mean, I tell everyone, it is athletic soap opera. It's just drama that you watch and you get absorbed in. It's just something to take your mind off things and just put yourself into. So
in your mind, then, are you surprised that you find that ratings are down so much and people don't want to watch anymore? Like, because that, the consensus is that, well, not even the consensus, the facts is that less and less than people are watching WWE.
No, not terribly surprised, because even it was myself, while I do enjoy the WWE product for quite a few things. There's many things where I'm like, all right, well, like just they don't keep things consistent for not just minor things, but just major things. Like with the Sasha Bailey feud, are they feuding or are they not? Are they in a romance angle? What's happening? I don't understand this. Thanks, WWE.
Would you be surprised to know that not only do they have a continuity editor, but they've just hired a new one as well?
Let's hope he has a longer credential list than the last.
But it's funny you've picked up on that in only a year. Because, again, you know, my girlfriend, that's the one thing that she gets confused about. She can't work out why... Mojo Rawley, for example, she can't work out why he'll be on one show and then he'll vanish another. And I just have to go, well, it's just wrestling. And that's not... You know, unless you're a wrestling fan...
It's just WWE. Just accept it.
But that isn't a good enough excuse, is it? I mean, that is not a good enough excuse to someone that doesn't get wrestling. But once you're involved in it, you just buy into it. And you're like, okay, fine. Like, I'll just accept it for what it is. But it's not good enough. Like, you wouldn't accept it if, you know, I don't know, any kind of sitcom or soap opera did it. And yet, given that WWE is this crazy live experience, it doesn't really feel like anything else, it's okay to muck around with the story. Or as you just mentioned it there, you know, the Sasha Banks Bailey thing was, I mean, it was so bad, it kind of led to everything that's going on with Sasha Banks right now. Because I think it kind of deflated both of their pushes, both of the relationship they had with the crowd, because everybody got fed up of it. And now here we are. You know, Sasha Banks is apparently on hiatus. I mean, I don't know whether you saw, but she tweeted out earlier something like, if you marks only knew. So now she's obviously playing up to something. It's becoming a really... the story now to me has become quite murky, and there's been loads of people, hurling stuff around the room. I hate it when that happens. But that, you know...
Yeah, I don't have that same connection as some other people might have with Bailey and Sasha Banks from their NXT days. I would love to see them, like, actual story being pushed, like Sasha being a heel. I would love to see that if she stays in WWE, and that tweet is a sign of that.
Do you watch much NXT?
Oh, I love NXT. I hadn't been able to watch the most recent episode, but I love them. I was out of my seat when Gargano won the championship. He is one of my favorites.
Did you think that was, as Dave Meltzer said, the best? Well, it could be for you, the best WWE show that they've ever put on.
Oh, just anything with Gargano is the best for me. I remember watching him take over Philadelphia versus Andrade.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh, so and then actually seeing Ciampa come out, I'm like, what is this? What is happening? Why is this bald man with just a flowing mop of facial hair attacking my man?
How did you get into NXT? Oh, you know, you start watching Raw and SmackDown. Do you just find out about it? I mean,
yeah, I just getting into wrestling through the internet. Really, just had an easier time finding things and just accepting it. It was a little bit of trouble for me getting into NXT at first because it is just so different from the main roster. It's just like this. The production quality is the same, but it's just a different feel. It's very much more, I want to say, not quiet, but it's just more intimate with it. It's just a lot more personal, it feels.
If I said to you right now, you had to give up the main roster or give up NXT, what would you give up?
Main roster.
Yeah, see that everyone says that, right? So do you not think then? And well, actually, no, the argument doesn't work anymore because the argument before was always, well, you know, we can't. NXT is dedicated to a more focused audience, like you and I. We can't do that with the main roster because we're trying to appeal to a larger demographic. That can't be true anymore because the numbers are dwindling. So, you know, with all that in mind, do you think it is time to try and take the approach of NXT and not necessarily copy and paste it, but try and take more of it and ensure that the main roster, you know, follows some of the credentials that they're doing?
Yeah, I think if you just take some of the elements, or heck, just even reference their NXT accomplishments, just like what they did. This is who they were in NXT. This is the character, and maybe just a more focused. I don't know. I'm trying to think of everything that might be put over from NXT to the main roster. Probably just a more intimate focus on the wrestling and the characters.
Yeah, well, look at Gargano Ciampa, right? I mean, it sucked the way it ended because of Ciampa's injury. However, it was a storyline that basically was told after over 18 months and 2 years. And it wasn't perfectly told, but the reason everybody bought into Gargano winning as much as he did is A, NXT protect championships, you know, B, wins and losses matter, and C, you really knew who Johnny Gargano was. I think the fact that we had Seth Rollins versus Kofi Kingston for both titles in a unification match, and we never, it didn't pop a rating, as they say, kind of summarizes what people think about titles anymore in the WWE. They don't necessarily see the Universal or the WWE title as a prize. They're kind of just there. Whereas NXT, I had loads of people talking to me about, oh, finally Johnny Gargano won the title. What a great day. With Kofi Kingston, it's more of a he deserved it kind of a thing. And I do think there's a difference there. But I think now you can't really argue the point that Raw and SmackDown couldn't learn from NXT, because you don't know how NXT would do. NXT is on the network, which is a very niche product. Even if it's got like 1.5 million subscribers, it's still niche compared to putting on a television show, especially something like Fox, which has is in a crazy number of homes, and anybody could just stumble across at any given time.
Yeah, just going back to the belts, I just think that I feel like they need to put those two together. The Universal title in my entire, it might as well just be the Brock Lesnar belt in my head.
Well, I mean, he's held it more than anybody else.
For so long, and it's just, I feel like the WWE Championship could mean more, but I feel like the Universal might hold it. I don't know if holding it back is the right way. It's just, it would mean more if you had the one championship in my head. Heck, I mean, I don't think I saw the episode, but I saw the clip where Daniel Bryan tossed the belt, the main belt, the WWE Championship, into the trash, and they pulled out his. And I'm like, I prefer that belt. That looks like a really good belt.
What, the hemp one?
Yeah, I was like, that looks really good. I like that one a lot.
Oh man, I mean the whole Daniel Bryan character, I think, has been ridiculous, right? The fact that he asked for a change because he wasn't happy with the way that he's being treated, which is true. I was reading a thread earlier, or a news story earlier, from back when he first returned, of people saying, I can't believe they're treating Daniel Bryan like this. It should have been one of the biggest comebacks ever, really. That's something to talk to you about, actually, because I guess you start watching wrestling when Daniel Bryan's already retired.
Yeah, he was GM of SmackDown when I first started, and then I had heard so much about him. I'm like, oh, I don't get to see Daniel Bryan wrestle. I mean, it's good to still. I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he's doing something, but it's not the same magic as everybody else has had. And then he returns at 34, and I'm just like, well, he's back, but Shane McMahon's doing kind of everything.
Did you? I'm trying to. I mean, you probably did. Did you? Were you aware of the story and the emotion attached to it, and why the whole Daniel Bryan story was so crazy to begin with?
Yeah, I had learned it from the YouTube video, Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. That's where I'd heard it from.
Oh, amazing, right? Yeah, man, that video really did have an impact on a lot of people.
I think I looked at it earlier, still like 3 million views. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, no. What, I guess because you weren't around for WrestleMania, because essentially WrestleMania 30 is when everybody fell in love with Daniel Bryan, and the ending to that show is going to be hard to be topped if you haven't, if you saw it live, because it was awesome. Like it really, really was. It was something utterly different, and it was something that no one actually thought could potentially happen. So when you find out he's coming back, are you excited? You're not excited? Is it something that goes up to the top of the card? Like,
oh, I thought he was going to just skyrocket ahead, just like on fire. I was like, it's Daniel Bryan. Like, why wouldn't they? This man is a draw. Like, obviously we know the yes movement and everything else. I mean, I enjoyed what they did with DB as the SmackDown GM. I enjoyed the yep movement with KO and Sammy.
Anything between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn is brilliant.
Oh, I love them. See, the idea of a face Sammy, I've never seen that, so that just baffles me. I've only ever seen him as a heel whenever he saved KO
which is
Hell in a Cell.
Which is amazing, because so many people, used to say, oh, Sami Zayn could never go heel. Do you know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't be able to do it. And then he went, actually, well, no,
he does it so well.
Man, he comes across like such a jackass. He's so good at it. I mean, he's so good at everything. And that new character, I am so excited to see what they do with that new character. I think
how him and KO will interact, because KO's a face, but he also hasn't been doing much. So it's just like, how is that going to play out?
Well, I imagine that one of them will be on SmackDown, one of them will be on Raw. I think they'll separate them that way, which I think is good. I think they need to be separated now. Yeah, they fought too many times, and You know, especially, like you say, given the relationship they had before they both got injured, you just separate the two, in my opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm sure their paths will cross again, as they always would. But again, I think that ties into the Superstar Shakeup, and maybe potentially you move around The Miz as well, get him away from Shane McMahon. Maybe you don't continue that feud. I don't know. I don't know what the plan could be, but I like the fact that there's options. There's options on the table. Moving on to some news, actually, that came out today as well. Have you heard everything about Road Dogg's exit? Or Brian James, I should say, from SmackDown's head writer position?
I think I'd heard it mentioned.
Yeah, so obviously he has stepped down. He's still working with the WWE. But the real fascinating thing to me is that it seems to be that Road Dogg just got fed up with it. He just got absolutely fed up with it. He was having meetings with Vince McMahon that would take up, the whole night, and they'd go through to the early hours of the morning. There was frustration because he would write an entire show, and then Vince McMahon would turn up on Tuesday and rewrite the whole thing. And then maybe the real twist is that McMahon would then hound Road Dogg, saying that, your script has no continuity. And I'm sure deep down he'd be like, well, it would do if you didn't keep changing the damn thing.
Oh goodness!
Yeah, which is it's an interesting take on it. But just give me your thoughts on that, man. Because again, I don't know what your knowledge is of kind of the behind the scenes world of wrestling. But when you hear that's how the writing meetings work, like you stay up all night, you wait for Vince McMahon, then he comes in and rewrites your show. I mean, it still blows my brain to this day to get anything done.
The concept of Vince McMahon criticizing anybody else's continuity. I'm just like, you want to throw that stone through that glass house? You want to? Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, kind of like what referencing the prequels earlier. Just like George Lucas, it was like George Lucas having a little too much power. I feel like Vince has a little too much. I know it's his company and he has a right to it, but I feel like he has a little too much control over it.
Well, he has all the control, man. No one else had any say whatsoever.
Yeah. I feel like there should be I don't know. How old is he again?
He's 72, I believe.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I don't think he should step down. I think there's obviously a place for him. I mean, obviously he's brought the company where it is now for good or for bad, but I feel like there should be more of Triple H and other people like that, just more other influences that can bring more to the shows.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen.
if only. Yeah, I don't think it'll happen either, but they would be nice.
They would. Well, yeah, it certainly would be nice. That's true. But I just find it crazy to think it just must be so hard. If you really think you're putting on a good product and then somebody come and changes all everything around, and then you get accused of ruining the continuity. Because, as amazing as I'm sure working for WWE is, it's still a job, and people still take pride in their work. And therefore, if all of a sudden that, the control that you have over something you're so passionate about gets taken away, I can imagine that really sucks. I can imagine that's really difficult. Also, working, I mean, I wouldn't mind working through the night, but I certainly would struggle working through the night if I worked through the night and then got told everything you've done is a bunch of crap. Then I'd be like, okay, that annoys me a little bit, just so you know. I just found it fascinating. And for him to quit, head writer on SmackDown, not the worst job in the world, probably it must take a lot, is my point. He must really have felt frustrated with it.
I couldn't blame him one bit, especially with backstage stories that you'll hear sometimes. It's like, yeah, this is hell.
Yeah, we're talking about backstage. I love this backstage story too. It really put a big smile on my face. I don't know how true this was. It's just people talking, and rumors are always abound aplenty in WWE. But apparently, Brock Lesnar just turned up to WrestleMania late, which I'm sure he's allowed to do. I'm sure it's in his contract. But the reason they changed and put Brock Lesnar on first at WrestleMania 35 is apparently, again, rumor, allegedly, allegation, blah, blah, blah. But he had no idea that the women were main eventing, even though WWE announced it 2 weeks prior, which goes to show how much he watches wrestling. And then when he found out the show was going to be about 7 hours, he was like, well, I don't want to wait around. Put me on first. I was like, Brock Lesnar, you are the best. You are the best. Like, you're such an asshole, but in the best possible way. And I think it was the right thing to do anyway. I think it was a great thing to put on. But I love the fact that Brock Lesnar has all this power. He can do whatever he wants.
I can't blame him for taking advantage of what he signed for. He has that power, so he can use it for, like I said, for good or for ill. In the case of 35, it was for good. That was a big. I was not expecting that. I'm like, oh, this is first. All right, let's go with it.
Did you know Brock Lesnar for his UFC stuff before you saw him as a wrestler?
No, I knew he was a fighter. I'd never seen it. I just knew he was a big man who had Jimmy Johns on his shorts.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of people how he knows him, but I mean, you still know that though, so you're still aware of Brock Lesnar. Did you ever find it hard to suspend your disbelief? Because I do every now and then.
That's a big man. That's a big man who could throw people everywhere.
But that's what I mean, though. So when you're like, he's in there with, say, AJ Styles, and AJ Styles is beating him up, and you're not like, what are you talking about? Brock Lesnar could kill him. Brock Lesnar, not only could he kill him because he's massive, but I also know he's a trained fighter. I've seen him fight real, I've seen him fight for real. Because some people say that to me. They say, Simon, I can't watch wrestling because I can't. But they said the same thing to me about Ronda Rousey. They're like, I can't watch it because I don't have that power to suspend my disbelief. And I sit there the whole time going, either one of these people could just kill anybody. I don't understand why they're not, because they've seen them in the octagon. Did you ever have that disparaging nature or not really?
No, I think I've never seen any real big names in UFC. I've always had a slight interest. It's like, oh well, I mean, I'd be interested in watching UFC. I just don't have anything to watch it with, like a subscription or anything. So, but I can understand that. But at the same time, it's like the wrestlers are also, I mean, they're trained to fight back, not the same way, but still, I mean, they're not pushovers. At the same time.
Oh no, absolutely not. Like 100% no. I understand when people say that to me because it's Brock Lesnar, man, and he looks like he can kick your ass. I imagine
him just tossing everyone into space that comes into the ring. Yeah, I want him to be number 31 in a Rumble and just toss everyone out of the arena.
Yeah, he could do as well. He could do. As we are doing on a Monday, we should run through the preview that WWE's released for Monday Night Raw. So obviously the big note is that WWE gets shaken up. We've kind of touched upon that, and let us know in the comments below who you think is going to move. I think I'm going to pick 5. My big 5 are Roman, and again, a lot of these are based on wishes as opposed to what I actually think will happen. Well, all of them are. Roman Reigns moves to SmackDown. Samoa Joe moves to Raw. Finn Balor moves to SmackDown. The Usos move to Raw. And Revival move to SmackDown. They are my 5 choices. Would you like to pick 5, my friend? You don't have to. And I've just put you on the spot there, but you can if you want. You can pick 2. You can pick whatever you want.
I'm trying to think now. I agree with your Samoa Joe, Finn Balor. I think switching those belts would be the best thing for him. Breath of new air for the both of them. Now, I think for just a moment for the shakeup, I'm just interested to see what they do. I haven't really thought about my own personal take on it. I'm just like, all right, it's my second one. Let's see what they do.
There's nothing wrong with that, dude. There's nothing wrong with just enjoying wrestling for what it is. That is, that's a forgotten art to many people. We're also going to get Lacey Evans stepping up to Becky 2 belts. And I'll read the exact thing they've written. New Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch repelled, interesting word, an attack from Lacey Evans on the Raw after Wrestlemania, but the sassy Southern Belle's assault made a greater impact on SmackDown, where a woman's right seemed to take the fight out of the man, if only for a moment. How will Lynch respond to this new threat? What do you think about Lacey Evans being her first contender?
Well, that news article, now I'm just imagining Becky Lynch in a Pokemon game using a super repel.
Exactly. I don't mind it, If you're going to push her. If she does well, great. If she doesn't, all right, stop pushing her. Simple.
I mean, it's weird how we got here with her just walking down the ramp, but, I mean, I like Lacey Evans. I enjoyed her time in NXT.
Yeah, and she does look like she could kick your ass. She's quite wide, in a good way. She's quite wide. Like, she definitely lifts weights. Also, the Universal Champion awaits his next challenge. The bar spalled the winner-take-all match, pitting the champions against each other, but the Beast Slayer's willingness to put his title on the line, blah, blah, blah. Basically, it's saying, who do you think his next challenger is going to be? I'm going to probably go with Drew McIntyre, even though that makes no sense given he lost at WrestleMania. I don't see who else they can put him with, and I think it would just work. So I would say that probably we go into a Drew McIntyre-Seth Rollins feud.
Yeah, you really want another big name to go against Seth right now, I guess, for that. So the only other person I can imagine, is Drew McIntyre. He's the only other person I would really want to see in that title scene for that.
I honestly don't see who else they've got ready, unless they do something like Bobby Lashley, but I doubt it. Talking about
Green Eyes, Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, talking about Bobby Lashley, he is going to strike back. It says Bobby Lashley's IC Championship loss to Finn Balor at WrestleMania has made the already aggressive Almighty even more dangerous, as witnessed by his mauling of Dean Ambrose. Who will Lashley's next target be? That's a good question, you know. I don't have an answer to that. Unless you do Roman Reigns, who's trying to... But all the rumors were that Roman Reigns is going to take on Baron Corbin. I don't know who does Bobby Lashley go after?
Maybe he just attacks the leftover members of the Shield now. Maybe he does go after Roman. I mean, we saw what he did what he said to Dean.
I wouldn't mind Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. You know.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, I don't know why. I quite like Bobby Lashley. I think he doesn't get used right. And finally, the big dog protects his yard. Defending both Monday Night Raw and the honor of his family, Roman Reigns defeated Drew McIntyre. Will Reigns look to challenge his sealed brother Chef Rollins for the Universal Championship? No, because you wouldn't write it. Or does he have another conquest in mind? If they're going to do Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin, this is how we'll wrap up. Give me your thoughts on Baron Corbin, my friend James, because I think like end of the last year, he sucked and it was awful, but I actually quite like what they're doing with him now. I get an odd kick out of him. I think if he uses this Kurt Angle thing correctly, it will be excellent, and you may actually be able to draw a proper heel out of him as well that people actually want to turn off and not want to see.
Yeah, I still wish we had gotten that hair versus hair match, just with how different he looks from that long hair.
Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do it? I don't understand.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, especially I remember watching a hair versus hair match in New Japan. I think it was Suzuki-gun. Or that was Minoru Suzuki, sorry.
Yeah, but
he lost his hair. I forget who it was against.
They even did it with that, but they didn't do it with Baron Corbin, who had the longest hair in all of wrestling. Like, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But I like him. I know that's a controversial opinion.
I always get a kick out of watching it with my friend, because you always go away, Baron. And I'm like, you're doing it again. You're playing right into them.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people just don't want to see him at all, and that's bad. If you're getting, like, I want to turn off heat, as they say, you don't want that. But I don't know. There's something I still think there's potential in Baron Corbin. Obviously, wasted potential means nothing, but I think we can tap into something there. And that's why I think if Kurt Angle wasn't going to win and WWE was set on doing Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin, which I said at the time, not my personal preference, then this is the way to do it. Give Baron Corbin every chance. And Kurt Angle wasn't the wrestler he once was anyway. I don't think many people are going to remember that. Yeah,
I think there's quite a bit about Baron that I could go, it's not really my thing. But at the same time, I was discussing with my friend at one point. It's like the Deep Six or it was the End of Days. That is a move that is so protected. I think if you push him you give him quite a bit of momentum. I think you can make him a big heel, like an even bigger heel.
He does have two great moves. Both of his moves are excellent. Like, that is 100% true. I like them. I like them a lot. We will see. We will see what happens. I don't know. I think there's something there. That's all I can say. I was trying to think of a better way to put it. I can't. I think there is something to Baron Corbin, and there's
a potential there.
Yeah,
it's not being tapped in the right way.
No, and they definitely screwed. They definitely screwed the pooch at the end of last year. That is true. That was a mistake. There's no two ways about that. So, yeah. Right, so that is I'll double check to make sure that there's nothing else going on. I think it's pretty much focused on the Superstar Shakeup. Obviously, a couple of new guys got announced for AEW. What do you think about AEW, by the way?
Oh, I am all for AEW. I'm actually going through all of Being the Elite right now. I think I'm like over halfway through right now. So, which makes that Cracker Barrel sponsorship at All In make a lot more sense.
Do you think they can be they already are challenging WWE, but do you think they can actually make a proper dent and sort of, scare WWE more than just, we're a company?
Not right away, but I think give enough time, in the fact that they have so much momentum already, if they play their cards right, then I think they can become an even bigger force against WWE, make them step their game up.
As a man that lives in America, obviously, if they do move to
good old Texas,
if they do move to TNT, which obviously is hilarious because it's the station that WCW used to be on, which makes it more exciting. But how big of that is? How big is that of a station in America? Because I know it's big, but I don't really know because I don't live there, obviously. So I don't. Is that like is that like a big move, or is it like not massive really?
I haven't watched live TV in a while, so I wouldn't be the right person to ask for it. But I don't think it's the biggest, but I think it's like a mid-tier television station. I could very well be wrong, but
so it's not like, I'm trying to think of the way to put it, but it's not like Impact, for example, which is on that Dispute channel, whatever it's called. I've never even heard of it in my life.
Oh yeah, I've heard of TNT. Like I know it exists.
Yeah, well, I know that TNT is big, obviously, because WCW used to be on it, and they used to do crazy ratings during the Monday Night Wars. So in terms of WWE versus WCW, do you just know like nothing? Is it just like a blip on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, I know it was there. I know it existed. I know it was big, but at the same time, I think the only WCW matches I've seen are I've started watching the Chris Jericho collection since I'm gonna go on the second wave cruise.
You're gonna go on the cruise?
Yeah, I'm gonna. The two big things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be at the G1 Climax opening in Dallas come July 6th, I think, and then I'm gonna be on the Jericho cruise. Wow. So I'm very much hoping to see Kenny Omega.
But dude, do you not find that amazing that you've gone from not watching wrestling 2 years ago to now wanting to go on a wrestling cruise? I think that's amazing.
I mean, I've gotten to the point now where Saturday I went to a local show, had quite a bit of fun just seeing an even smaller production. And I've even had ideas of just trying to get in better shape and maybe train for wrestling.
Yes,
if that's
dude.
A possibility.
There is yes, do it. I love it when people say, just do it, man. What's the worst that can happen?
I think I told you a while back, I tried basically it was a come in and see what the wrestling training is like, and my arms were collapsing by the end of it.
Well, that does happen, man. I mean, that's just, it's not easy. It's not easy, but I think long term, if you like it, it becomes very, very satisfying to say the least. So I think you should do it, dude. I'm in your corner for this one. I support you in this endeavor.
I appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you.
That's all good, dude. It's all good. Right, so we'll end it there. We are about 5 hours or something like 6 hours away from the Superstar Shakeup. Let us know in the comments or tweet whatever what you think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a good show. I think it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about tomorrow. Is there anything else that you'd like to throw out there? You can promote your Twitter. You don't have to, but I always like to give people the opportunity.
No social media right now.
There we go. Done. Easy. Nice and simple. Well, James, I'll thank you for your time. I'll thank you for your support again. Again, everything that I do is supported by patreon.com/Simon316. You can come on the podcast. All the information is up there. I am on Twitter at Simon316. That is Instagram too. And look, if you're going to be around Leeds on Wednesday and you want to come to the Defiant show at the O2 Academy, there's a couple of tickets left. I'm going to be cutting a promo revealing about my future in the pro wrestling world. So that's going to happen soon. So you can look out for that. But for the time being, enjoy Raw, enjoy SmackDown, and I will talk to all you again. The live podcast may not be on Wednesday this week just because of the Defiant show, but it will be up either Tuesday or Thursday. There will be a live episode this week, so keep an eye out for it. James, thank you very much for your time again.
Thank you, Simon.
You're very welcome. And I will talk to you all again very soon.